BodyBags, where horror lies.
Guys, Roth from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. It is week, if I believe, 528. Yeah, 528 here at BodyBags. I'm your regular Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags, and it is the first opening week of December. Happy December, happy holidays, happy merry early Christmas. I hope your entire month is good. And if you have not seen Godzilla Minus One in the theater yet, I do not know what you're waiting for. That is a 5 out of 5 star cinematic masterpiece, not just as a Godzilla film, but as a film with a pretty potent message, I think, aside from life, which is really thematically at the heart of this movie is life, is the reminder of just the catastrophicness of war, and what war does. And, you know, with Oppenheimer coming out this year and now this and other things, I don't know, it's kind of weird to think as the lunatics who are pulling the levers of governmental politics around the world seemingly want to bring some sort of disaster upon us, ought to be watching these films more than anyone. Anyways, go see Godzilla Minus One. Freaking absolutely fantastic film. Fire in the Sky, man. Robert Lieberman. A little bit of a different film than Godzilla, of course, or the aforementioned Oppenheimer. Lieberman, I just did my episode 2 of season 2 of The X-Files, the host. Lieberman himself directed an episode of The X-Files. It was episode 5, season 7, episode 5, Rush. Also did some Dexter, and I think he did a lot of TV and stuff, but this was a theatrical film he did, based loosely on true events, depending on whether or not you want to believe in those true events. This is about alien abduction. It's about something really horrifying happening to a group of loggers out in the woods. From 1993, I should have said the year right off the bat. At the time was, and I don't know what would have supplanted it, but at the time it was the most notorious, that's probably the wrong word, the most recognizable abduction event of its moment, enough that it garnered the attention of those who decided to make a full theatrical feature film that involved the likes of, if you have forgotten, Robert Patrick as Mike Rogers, Gregg Sheffer as Alan Dallas, Peter Berg, if you remember, he was the boyfriend from Shocker, went on to be a director himself, Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg. Henry Thomas is in this thing, is another one of the guys. Bobby, Henry Thomas is Gregg, Bradley Gregg is Bobby, James Garner as the investigator who is called in to ascertain the truth. D.B. Sweeney is, of course, our Travis Walton. Travis and Mike Rogers, I believe, those were at the core of the group of loggers, best friends. And so you got Mike, Alan, David, Gregg, Bobby, are the group of Travis's friends, and all of them will be out in the woods. I think they have been, okay, so like, I'm going to mention this. I should have also mentioned, just as a side note, Bill Pope, the cinematographer. He is the guy that brought us the video 1 for Metallica. Darkman, cinematographer for Darkman, Army of Darkness, the Matrix trilogy, Spider-Man 2, my favorite Spider-Man movie. And the makeup, guy from the makeup worked on The Thing, Escape from New York, la-di-da-di-da, some good stuff in here. Some good stuff. All right, so what we have here, okay, so what I was gonna say a second ago is, I'm not gonna get too far in. It's not really hard to spoil this movie at all, really, but if you haven't seen it, it is, and if you're into alien abduction films or just extraterrestrial type encounter films, especially ones that are lean more towards the horror side of things, this has some interesting sequences. But this not only was this event in 1975. Pretty sure that was the year. The film is 93 and 95. If you remember the name Art Bell, most of you maybe not, maybe you do. He in 95 had both Mike Rogers and Travis Walton on his on the Art Bell show. Now, I happen to have wandered into somebody on Spotify put together the I don't know if it's the ultimate or the full, but there is an Art Bell archive of all of maybe just his best stuff, I don't know. But April 4th, 1995 show, Art Bell had these two on there. I've listened to it a few times, and what's really cool about it is Art Bell sort of uses the movie as a template, but to guide his questions as he's interviewing him and talking to him and sort of getting to the bottom of this thing. And what's really fascinating with this abduction case is these two, these guys took polygraph tests back in 75, and then as recent as 93, because there was an investigator who wanted to debunk it before this movie could go into full production and be made. And they passed it with flying colors. So at every step of the way, the polygraph test was either they pass or not sure or just pass. And so it does beg the question more than anything, whether you are a subscriber to the alien phenomena and extraterrestrial abduction cases, or not, something happened to these guys out there in those woods. And we may not ever know exactly what happened. Now, if you buy Mike and Travis's story, Travis was abducted. They were preparing to, they had a contract for like a year and a half or 2 years clearing out woods in this one area. I want to say it's Arizona. And so they're getting ready to pack up and head out for the day when they notice what they think is a fire off in the wood line somewhere. And before I think they go to it to investigate what it is, and then they realize, I think, if I remember right, they see, I'm going to get the Art Bell interview and the film sort of mixed up here a little bit, but they believe they see a UFO hovering over. Travis is so moved by curiosity. He's intrigued. He goes against the judgment of his buddies. He goes out closer to it, and as a result, a beam of light or something basically just pushes him off in a pretty dramatic fashion, where Mike and the others in the truck, they just basically take off. He's in effect gone for like 5 days. They do come back. I don't think they find him. It's pitch black out in the woods. And so they go back into town, and they have to basically start unfolding the story. Ultimately, it'll be believed by played by James Garner, who's awesome, man. I don't see enough movies with James Garner in it, but he does not buy their story at all, and he wants to completely debunk them. This is in the film, right? And so he's thinking maybe they committed murder, and this is their extraterrestrial story to cover up and not have to face the consequences for this. And so for 5 days, but at the end of that 5 days, suddenly out of nowhere, Travis reappears. And so the movie then goes on from there. And a lot of it is, just dealing with the repercussions of being put in the national spotlight, reporters, media, the investigation. Is this the truth, not the truth? And so a lot of the movie, the section of the actual abduction, and when we get to see from his point of view or recollection, at least in terms of Paramount Pictures and the point of view of the film, his abduction is pretty terrifying. He is basically on this slab, and they're just messing with him, man. They are messing with him big time. In the Art Bell interview, he talks that, he was there on set, did a lot to try to keep them on task in terms of what happened versus what didn't happen, trying to keep them as close to the actual event as they relate that event to us, right? Of course, at the bottom of it, we don't really know for sure because we weren't there, we didn't see. But when you listen to the Art Bell, interview with these guys, which the link is down there on the top of the heap, regardless of your perspective on things, you have to imagine something happened. And I kind of want to know what happened to these guys. They pass their polygraph test. You're basically gone. You're out of the picture, out of the loop. It wrecks one of their marriages. The friendship, the guys in real life all basically spread out, moved on different places, occupations, jobs, whatever. And so, if this were all an attempt to just kind of bring some spotlight on them in 1975, I'm not sure why. Of course, you do have the Bigfoot phenomenon. I mean, if you were going to really play devil's advocate, and, really kind of just spin things and say, well, they were just looking to, maybe this is just sort of an idea to somehow bring, I don't know what they think they could possibly have gotten out of it. They're residents of a small town. And this is really, quite frankly, this is the kind of attention most people don't want. And if it's not for their friend being missing, at least now looking back, well, I say now as of the 95 interview with Art Bell, they say, well, Mike and Travis say if it wasn't for, the abduction, had they all just stayed in the vehicle and booked their butts out of there, they said there's no way they would have said it. They would have said of their experiences to anyone, right? Because generally, nothing good ever comes out of that. When you experience something that you can't explain, some weird phenomenon. Now, I'm completely, look, this world is a mysterious place, and I do believe it offers a lot of things that happen that just cannot be explained, that may never be explained. I'm not the kind of person that believes that being able to put your hands onto something and grab a hold of it is the end of all ends. I'm not a materialist by any stretch of the imagination, maybe quite the opposite. But I have a sense something happened to these guys. I don't know. I'm not going to say it was aliens or a true abduction, but something happened. Something had to have happened. It's interesting. So anyway, so I invite you. It's only I think the interview is only an hour long, if that. And it's down there for your convenience. I definitely check it out. And if you've never really gotten into Art Bell, maybe this is your segue into a much greater discovery of Art Bell. If you're into the paranormal, he was maybe at the time considered the godfather of late night talk, national talk radio. He is. I remember in college in the early '90s. Art Bell, man, he was the way that I sort of found out, what really was happening in the world that a lot of times the news just doesn't cover or won't tell you. And so he always, if I remember, he would always spend the first few minutes, and of course this is where I learned about shortwave radio and just all that sort of stuff. Art Bell was pretty major influence on my life in my early 20s. Of course, today we have a podcast known as Astonishing Legends. It's not the only one of its kind out there, but that is a pretty awesome. In fact, their newest pod deals with Amelia Earhart. It seems like that mystery is coming to an end, perhaps with what might have happened to her. So that's interesting. So I do get into this stuff, man. It's really pretty fascinating stuff. But fire in the sky. And if that's not enough, I did drop a link. I think it's underneath the Art Bell link for the Graveyard Shift podcast. We recently talked about Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. If you want to hear what we had to say about that, that link's down there as well. But quite a cast of characters that, you might not realize a movie like this would have sort of been a magnet to. It's James Garner. It's so freaking awesome. So check it out, definitely. I didn't even show up. Physical Media Matters. Jason, our Tuesday reviewer, BodyBags. Gotta steal that line from him, man. Physical media does matter. Found this recently out in the wild. The movie was on my periphery. I'd always wanted a copy, but I wasn't going to pay what I was going to have to pay for the new Blu-ray of it. And I just happened to be out in the wild. Went into one of my video stores that I go into, and could not believe my eyes when I just saw it there for a couple bucks. In fact, actually, No, this one was actually $7.99, which is at the high end of things in this particular store that I go into. Generally, they're like $1.99 to $2.99, maybe $3.99. Rarely do you see them at $7.99, but I knew if I didn't pick this up, even $8, I was not going to get it for very cheap. So I went and grabbed it, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. If anything, is just proof beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's hard to navigate in this world if you are a materialist. There are too many question marks out there about just life and what this world has to offer in terms of the mystery of things. There is still mystery to be found today. And sometimes we do have to look in our just a little bit in our past, like something like this, or it's not too far and hard to look around us and find it if we just open up our eyes. But anyways, Fire in the Sky, Lieberman film from '93, one of the most talked about abduction events in our recent history, immortalized in a film, interviewed by Art Bell. Very interesting, very interesting. So I invite you to check it out. I made it convenient for you, drop the link down. It is December again. Happy Decembers to you, and it's all humbug for me from here on out in terms of my Bulldogs being tossed out of the playoffs by a 3-point loss to Alabama. I still can't get over that, but it is what it is. So yeah, so next week, I think it's 1999. I am viewing a movie that I only have on VHS. End of Day Schwarzenegger for 1999. Looking forward to that. So next week is all films from 1999. The end of the week or end of the month, doing good, right? End of the month is Nordic horror. Definitely looking forward to that. That is going to be a fun week to close out December, to close out 2023, as we make ready for another year of BodyBags. Yeah. So anyways, appreciate the support. Thank you for all that you guys do, and it's most appreciated here at BodyBags. Thank you. As always, go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.